This is the real reason behind inflation. Jerome Powell cannot stop lying. About a week ago, Jerome Powell gave a talk at Stanford University, and in it, he said that the main reasons for inflation were overheated demand and supply side issues. In my video about that talk, I kind of laughed at him because, wow, look how unprofessional I look. Shake my head. Anyways, in my video about that talk, I laughed at Jerome because he never mentioned why demand was overheated. Well, this is the real reason why we're seeing such crazy inflation lately. And if you listen to the experts, you'll never understand it. During the worst parts of COVID in 2020, the Fed increased the size of its balance sheet by about $3 trillion in the second quarter of 2020. Now that sounds all complicated. What the hell does it mean? What it means is that when we talk about the Federal Reserve's capacity to stimulate or slow down the economy, we almost always talk about interest rates. Is the Fed going to cut rates? Is the Fed going to raise rates? Everyone wants to talk about rates. What we talk about less often is the Fed's balance sheet, which is equally important. What the balance sheet is all the assets that the Federal Reserve holds. How do they get those assets? They buy them on the open market with dollars that they print from thin air. So, when we say that the Fed increased the size of its balance sheet, what it means is that when COVID was ripping in 2020, the Federal Reserve was buying assets from the open market with money that came from nothing, that they made up in a spreadsheet somewhere. Added a few extra zeros onto the end of it. That extra money gets pumped into the economy as assets get taken out. So $3 trillion in a single quarter was added. Then they continued to increase their balance sheet by adding another $2 trillion over the next 7 quarters, all in response to the lockdowns. So they pumped tons and tons of money into the system, which caused demand to overheat. But Powell never mentioned that. Now, since they began to do quantitative tightening in 2022, the Fed has reduced their balance sheet by $1.5 trillion over 7 quarters. Remember, they added $3 trillion in just one. So this is a minuscule amount of assets that they're selling onto the open market to try and burn dollars, or to try and take dollars out of the economy, rather. So, why has the Fed been so asymmetric in the speed of its balance sheet rundown versus the speed with which they added to the balance sheet? They were so eager to add liquidity to the system, but then as soon as inflation began to start, they're really taking their time taking that money out. Why have they been so slow to remove liquidity, yet still expect that inflation would gracefully sink down? According to Craig Shapiro, who you should follow on Twitter, he's a great account, his opinion is that the Fed's decision to favor hiking rates rather than quickly removing liquidity will go down as perhaps the largest mistake of this cycle for the Fed, one that they are still failing to recognize, as all they talk about is rates. Rate cuts, rate increases, stability in rates. Here is the truth about why the Fed acted this way. By favoring rate hikes over balance sheet reductions, the Fed favored the banking system, the rich and powerful, the asset owners, and the largest corporations, while screwing over everyone else in America that is being hurt by rising interest rates and still too high inflation. This is the truth of what's going on. They chose pain for you and gain for them. The experts are only there to serve the wealthy and powerful. Don't fall for Jerome's lies. Remember where inflation came from. And remember that these guys do not have your best interests at heart. They will take everything from you if you give them the chance. My name's Elias Marshall. I'm new to all these financial markets. I'm just sharing what I've learned with you. Think of it as a student sharing his notes. If you want to come along the ride, hit the subscribe button. New videos coming every single day on financial markets, crypto, Bitcoin, gold, energy, stocks, macro, everything.